You guys never see this, but right before the show starts, when the music's playing, John and I just be pop locking, like just break dancing in our chairs. We sort of gotten into a routine of it. And John's gotten pretty good. We should put him on camera sometime. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition, a New Year edition of the Differently Wired Show. We are now in 2020. And I think next week will mark the 1 year anniversary that we've been doing this show. God, 1 year. I can't believe Christmas was just a week ago. That time, as you get older, in so many ways it feels like it's going way too slow, but in most ways it feels like it's going way too fast. Anyways, we'll talk about Christmas and then get into the usual stuff in just a second. But, I got to remind you guys who I am. I am the notorious... I was trying to get drawn into rap before we started the show. I'm the notorious Max Derrat, Danger Derrat. It's good to be with you all again, your friendly neighborhood Simpsons kin. I can't rap to save my life. And speaking of not can't rap to save their life, he is PhD. He is the man who risks it to get that biscuit. He's John Tucker. See, I can't rap.
I perform that magic, eh? Whatever that magic is.
I don't even know what it is. I hear it's spoken of a lot. I want to get in on some of that rap magic. Apparently, it pays all Drake's bills. You were just John was just telling me he was trying to introduce himself to Drake. Trying to demonstrate some Canadian patriotism just before we started the show.
Didn't work.
Yeah, it didn't work. Don't worry, John. I don't get it either. I was talking about his psychology.
Oh, but Max, before you go on, there's something I just got to ask you. What's your vision for 2020?
Oh, yeah. Well, that sort of. Can we just save that for a second, just before?
Okay.
Just because we, it sort of is about the main topic today. I figure we talk about both of our visions for 2020 as a part of the main topic.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry to sort of slap away your segue there. I mean, I do love a good segue, but we do got to do the usual house cleaning stuff first.
It was actually a joke. I was asking you Vision 2020, making a pun about 2020 vision, but you didn't get it. That's
really?
Okay.
I thought you were going to do a Barbara Walters sort of thing there. You could have done that too. Sorry. No, I autism, not getting jokes, sort of goes hand in hand. It's not your fault, John.
It kind of does.
You usually do make good jokes. I'll give you that.
Okay.
It's about the only good thing you do. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no.
I'm just joking. All right. No,
Facebook. I don't get it.
I don't get it. That makes no sense to me. That makes no logical sense, Max. All right. Facebook page. We got one. Like it. Love it. Share it with your friends. We boost our egos, as we usually say. It's a link to it in the description box below. Discord server. We are still growing. 1,000 members is in sight. Last time I checked today, we're somewhere over 920. So if you guys haven't joined yet, make sure you join in right now. The community is still growing, it's still going strong. I see people in there every single day lighting up all the chat rooms. I'm not exaggerating. I see tons of people that are always in the voice chats, just hanging out. A really, really positive community. And one of the main things that I look forward to doing in the near year is building that community, making sure that it stays a positive, safe place for people to congregate. And, just talk about how awesome my videos are. That's number one. Second is mental health. Just in case you guys didn't know how the rules work there. Subscribe to our page. If you like the work that I do here on my YouTube channel and the work that John and I do with the Differently Wired show, and you like it enough that you'd like to see us grow in the future, maybe consider going over to my Subscribe Star page and consider, one of the different tiers that you can donate at. You can donate as little as $1 and you will be able to get certain rewards. For example, if you do donate at $1 at the dollar tier, you get the audio version of this podcast. And with every extra dollar that you guys add on top of that, there will be even more rewards. So at $2, you get access to the, I'll talk about it in a second. You get access to movie night, which we do every Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's always been a blast ever since we started it last October. What else? Oh yeah, you get audio versions of my different videos other than the Differently Wired show. And you also get access to the after show. So every single show that we do for the Differently Wired show live. Immediately after, there's an after show where you can just come and hang out with me and the different members in my Discord server. It's always good to set some time aside each week just to hang out with the people that are in the Discord server, make sure they're happy, make sure they feel appreciated, which you are. So, speaking of, what is it that Barbara Walters says? This is 2020. Is that what she says? This is as simple as that. Come on, John.
I forget.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it's okay. I don't watch Barbara Walters. I just heard on the news this evening a whole bunch of people giving tribute to the fact that she did something called 2020. Yeah, whatever. Barbara Walters, she's a journalist. That's about all I know about her. But we're not here to talk about Barbara Walters. We're here to talk about the fact that it is New Year's. John, Happy New Year to you. How was your New Year?
Happy New Year, Max. It was lovely. We went out to dinner, my wife and I, for New Year's. Not that exciting, I suppose, but I worked on, well, today and I worked yesterday, because that just happened to be when my clients come see me, those, Tuesday, Wednesday, Monday. It's interesting that some people needed me more on these days than they did on other days, but not that unusual. Because, these holiday season issues can come up and hit people in the eye,
Yeah, I certainly feel that. I've had certain moments over this past holiday. It's just the way that it is. There's such a emphasis around family and getting together with people. So when certain societal expectations aren't met, it sort of throws you off emotionally. So that makes sense. But yeah, I'm glad that you went out to dinner with your wife. It's certainly a lot more eventful than anything I did on Christmas Eve. Not Christmas Eve. Actually, I had a good Christmas Eve. I saw my family. But New Year's Eve, yesterday, I didn't do anything. I just treated it like any other day. I went to bed. That was my celebration. And I read, which was nice.
Rocking the house.
Yes, rocking the house in my dreams. Certainly. But yeah, New Year's, it's an important time. It's around this time that everybody's wanting to make definite changes to, the lifestyles that they've been leading up to this point. And ultimately, it can be quite difficult to do so, as we are all aware. I'm sure at some point in all of our lives, everybody that's listening to this right now, you've tried to keep a New Year's resolution. And maybe you have kept one, maybe you haven't. But just before we get into an overall discussion, let me just read some of these interesting statistics out that I brought up before the show. So, John, I was looking at the New York Post today, and I was reading a couple articles in regards to New Year's and whether people hold resolutions, what are the most popular resolutions that people hold. Obviously, the top one is losing weight and, making better financial decisions. But the other one that I read was a lot more interesting. It provided some stats. Let's see. The research I'm looking at, I don't have it up on screen. I apologize. But this one comes from the New York Post. I'm quoting it right now. It says, research conducted by Strava, the social network for athletes, has discovered that Saturday, January 12th, is the fateful day of New Year's resolutions. After analyzing more than 31.5 million online global activities last January, Strava was sticking to pinpoint the date when most people report failing their resolution. Wow, not even 2 weeks in. That's pretty bad. Let's see, what else? There's another one here. Oh, according to a study conducted by the University of Scranton, get this, John, get ready to get your yucks in order. Just 8% of people achieve their New Year's goals, while around 80% fail to keep their New Year's resolutions, says U.S. clinical psychologist Joseph Luciani in that aforementioned study from the University of Scranton. John, what the heck? I mean, I've kept my New Year's resolutions, some of them in the past, like when I think it was at the beginning of 2018. I said, hey, I'm going to lose some weight. And I did. I lost 20 pounds in the first couple months, which was pretty cool. And I kept it off for most of the year. But what is it in general about keeping New Year's resolutions, John, that people tend to find so difficult, you think?
Well, I think what's happened is the process we have gotten ourselves drawn into with New Year's resolutions is that we, again, live in the world of should, which is the world that we adopt the rules of somebody else and apply them to ourselves, and we we're doomed to failure most of the time simply because it's stuff that's not natural to us. I want to lose, 50 pounds by the end of the month or something. And or you might say I will exercise more, which is a non-resolution anyway.
Mm.
I think the whole business of resolution is falling into disrepute everywhere. I was reading an article which I'll refer to in a moment. We can talk about it in a moment, by Andre Picard in Canada's Toronto's Globe and Mail yesterday. Andre Picard is a very well-known, respected health um, uh, writer, and he discussed resolutions. And essentially, he was saying we're making too big, making too huge a set of resolutions. I would like to see things along the lines of around this time of year. Let's examine what went on and see what we can conclude by it. And if I were to make resolutions, I would like to make resolutions to be more gentle with myself, to be more understanding of what I need, to make sure I do things for others, but make sure I take care of business. Uh, the big fat resolutions about being big and fat usually don't work at all because it's not, well, the other thing is the resolution of losing the 50 pounds comes from your will, and it isn't your will and reason that drives you to eat. It's a different part of the brain.
Mm.
So it you're not actually talking to yourself when you make this I will do this, I will do this. That's not what's driving you to do that thing that is you want to change, or you want to stop doing. So there's a whole bunch of reasons why the process of resolution is fraught with a lot of dangerous stuff.
Mm.
It's okay, I think, this time of year to go back over things, see, consider stuff, and oh well, I might try this year, but then I will do this, I will do this. Hmm. Those statistics actually don't surprise me.
Yeah. I thought it'd be a little bit higher, not that low, where people just completely. I suppose it sort of depends on like how they categorize, what resolutions did they ask people about? Were they relatively easy to do or relatively hard to do? But anyways, I think you sort of hit on just in what you just said there, John. What I think is probably the most difficult aspect of keeping resolutions. It's the fact that people in general, and especially in most recent years, people tend to live, go about their days somewhat unconsciously, not entirely, but somewhat. Like you set yourself a routine, your body adapts to it, and because of that, you sort of are able to expect what you're going to do throughout the day. You get up in the morning, you shower, you eat breakfast, you go to work, you eat lunch, you come back home from work, you eat dinner, you go to bed. Right. And then once that basic routine, something changes within it, it's like utter chaos completely breaks. You prefer that state of unconsciousness where you're not thinking about this stuff all the time. And then when you have to introduce that conscious element, you just completely lose your mind. So when you have to, let's say, you expect to wake up in the morning, you eat breakfast, and I don't know, maybe you eat Eggo waffles or something, or croissants, and now you have to eat strictly like 2 eggs every morning just to make sure you have the protein and nothing else. That's enough to mess people up. You know,
I
when
think
I
Eggo waffles would mess me up.
oh really? You don't like Eggo waffles?
Oh, oh no.
No, why not?
Well, there's nothing in them that's good.
Well, yeah, that's true. But they're so they're they're so delicious, John.
Ugh.
I used to eat those like every single day when I was 8 years old. The wonders of my childhood. Yeah, I don't eat them anymore. Um, what do I eat for breakfast? I eat Cheerios and yogurt in the morning. That's not bad. Certainly better than Eggo. What was I saying? Oh yeah, the conscious element. When you introduce that basic thing into your everyday routine, it's enough to throw you off. And I know, because when I have tried to set a resolution to lose weight in the past, I did fail. It was only recently that I was able to succeed, and that's only because I drastically altered my routine. But I also put in place a new routine that was so structured that I found it a little bit easier to fall into.
Hmm. Yeah, there's a couple of interesting things you said. The last one I would like to pick up on. There is a way you could make a change if you make a drastic enough change. That's one way of doing it. So, for instance, if you want to learn some new activity, yoga, some sport or something, and you go to a camp and immerse yourself in it, or if you want to learn another language and you go to an immersion program for the language, that's a big enough change that you can alter the way your brain is receiving this stuff. The other way of doing it, a more natural way, is to do it in subtle, small bits, um,
Yeah.
so that so that it is doable and measurable. Sometimes my clients and I will set a goal, or they'll set a goal. We'll work on it together, and they'll come back and it didn't work. So we'll find ways to chop it up to make it littler. So
Hmm.
it's in an academic example, for instance, you need to write a term paper, and you say, "Oh my God, I got to write a term paper. It's 30 pages, and this is a lot of work." So you're thinking about the whole problem. But if you start by thinking of, well, I think I must gather information about this topic, and that's your first goal, and you don't sort of choke on the whole package, you can nibble away at the problem.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll gather information. Okay, next thing, I'll take a few notes on this stuff. Okay, I'll find some interesting bits and pieces.
Hmm.
Uh, if you break the task up into little pieces, it's like a resolution of that sort can be more manageable. If for instance, you want to cut back on carbs and sugar and all that stuff, maybe you can cut out one kind of thing,
Yeah.
just one little thing, one kind of thing. And say, okay, I'll have my croissants, but I won't have Boston cream donuts or something.
No, not the butt. Oh, okay.
They gotta go. They gotta go.
John, yeah, you're making me ache here. Nah, I don't even like Boston cream donuts. I don't even know what they taste like.
In the interest of making big decisions and sticking to plans, I have a confession to make
Mhm.
about one of my failures. In October, I discovered that app for the phone. I didn't know about it, but it
Oh, sorry, John.
synchronized with
John.
the Apple Watch.
Sorry, John. You just broke up there for the last 10 seconds. Sorry.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're fine. It just happens from time to time.
Okie dokie. I have an app on my phone, a pedometer. Now, everybody around here knows you're supposed to do 10,000 steps. Well, for about 3 months, I noticed I was doing 7, sometimes 15,000, sometimes 4, sometimes 3. Most of the time, never getting to 10. So just today, I said, why am I beating myself up? Why not have my goal 5?
Hmm.
Who says I can't have a goal of 5,000 steps? I know everybody's supposed to do 10. Well, mine's 5. I work out in the morning and I do 5,000 steps in the day. I can do 5. So today, yippee, I get a gold star. I got 5. I didn't get 10. Forget 10. 10 was not working. That's all. So
Just start with something low, like 10 steps a day. I
there
think
you
that's
go.
manageable, and then build yourself up from there. But in all seriousness, John, what you said there is actually important. Once you actually start doing something,
It's always important, Max.
yeah, it is. It is. When you start by just doing something instead of just focusing on the daunting nature of the entire package, if you just start with the one thing, everything else sort of seems to ease into place. It's sort of like when
Yeah.
you step into like a really cold pool of water, right? You're staring at it, it's like, oh God, like it's a hot day, but do I really want to, expose my sensitive nature to this icy cold pool? That's me every time whenever I get in the pool. But once you actually step into the water and you get like knee deep, it's like, okay, it's still a little bit uncomfortable, but once you're there, you just sort of do it. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm,
it's
mhm.
like you're staring at the pool. It's like, nah, I don't really want to go in for like 5 or 10 minutes. But then once you actually step in and you deal with the colds, you're in and swimming in like 30 seconds. Right?
Something magical happens when you're faced with a daunting task. I don't know what happens, why exactly, but when you're actually moving and doing something, you're getting a kind of physical and also a psychological momentum. So you have to face this task to do. It's daunting. Oh, you either step back or you make a resolution, which is almost the same thing as stepping back, in my view. But if you actually start moving toward that goal, let's say you want to exercise in the morning and you decide you're going to do a small thing, you might be able to get that moving and it's not daunting and you sort of get energy going and you can do
Mm.
a little more as you go along. And you're sort of working with your head and your body rather than trying to enforce something. If you're differently wired, you've had enough of people forcing you to do stuff and trying to make you see the world through their eyes and play their game. You want to be gracious to yourself as well as to everyone, but gracious to yourself about resolutions. I'm leery about, big daunting resolutions.
Mm. Yeah, me too. Actually, I was just about to ask you if you personally have any resolutions for this year, John, and I'll tell you mine. But before I do, I just want to mention. Well, I just want to turn to the chat for a second. There's a couple of people leave a couple of nice comments. Solera of Ludo Media says, "Hey Max, love your content. Have a like and praise the sun." Yes, indeed, praise the sun. Thank you so much for that, Solaire, because
Mm,
Solaire in whatever language means sun. See how cultured I am.
mm.
Dunstan says, just discovered your channel today. Great content on Asperger's. Really resonates. Thanks, dog. Thanks so much for showing up. And there are 27 people of you watching right now, although I've seen it go up towards 40 during the show. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. It is, the holidays still. Not everybody is sort of settled back into their usual routine, speaking of which, just yet. And the fact that you guys are still taking the time out to come and listen to what John and I have to say, we really appreciate it. We're really glad that we have this dedicated fan base. So I'll come back and keep listening to us. But yeah, before I sort of give you my resolution and John gives his whatever resolution, I'd like to ask the people that are watching, do you guys have any resolutions at the moment that you are planning on sticking to? Are you one of the types of people that don't really partake in the whole resolution tradition and more so just make plans as you get inspired by them? Just let us know and we'll read whatever you guys put in the live chat box. Meme Supreme sends in €2. Thank you so much, Meme Supreme. I would say,
Beautiful name.
yes, that is a beautiful name. I would say all your bases belong to me, but because you are so generous, all your bases may still belong to you, and that's another thing that John will never get.
Ever.
In regards to gaming, uh, it's okay. It's not that great. So, John, New Year's resolutions. Do you keep them? Do you have one for this year?
Well, in the morning I work out, and I realized this morning that I had been biting off more than I can chew, as it were, in terms of resolutions. So I refined my routine in such a way that there's a piece of it that I can always do every day. And it wasn't a resolution, but it was a kind of a decision looking back over some of the stuff I've been doing. And I reckon, oh yeah, regardless of if I sleep in or I get up way early, I can still get this piece done. So I resolved to do it that way. It doesn't make it as a resolution. It was just kind of an observation of how this will go better for me.
Sure.
And that's about the only one I can think of. It's kind of tiny, but it's going to make it easier to make my routine work a little more smoothly in the morning.
Well, sure. And just like we were just saying, one of the ways that you can approach New Year's resolutions is just by making the little changes. Instead of taking on a whole bunch of different things at once.
Yeah,
Although that can work, like you were just saying, like you can just dive right in, or you can take little steps. So you have to experiment a little bit. In your regard, it
yeah.
seems like that works right for you. As for myself, I'm really taking that do little things thing to heart. Uh, there are a lot of things that I want to get taken care of. A lot of problems that I've been dealing with lately. I haven't been doing that great over the last couple of weeks, but with the new year, I figure the one thing that is most pertinent and will allow me to do a whole bunch of other things is if I focus more so on taking care of myself. Because
Hmm.
with the people that I've been talking to, like you and my family and my friends, about the problems that I have been dealing with, they say that I need to take care of myself more. Um, and I think what I'm going to do, and the way I've sort of started doing that, is I've made regular appointments to see my psychologist, who I have found has actually been very helpful so far, which is good.
Hmm.
I'm also making a resolution to try and ease myself into eating healthier because I find that it will likely, if I stick to that for about a week, I will set up a routine and then it will get me to a point where I'm not feeling so sluggish all the time. I'll have more energy. I'll be able to do more video work for you guys. And it sounds like I'm taking on a lot more, but the way that I perceive it, it's really not that much. Just by making the general resolution, take better care of myself. If I see an opportunity available to me to be able to do that, I'm going to pursue that.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So hopefully, I can be accountable to you guys. I can let you guys know how things are going more regularly during the new year. And I'll be in the Discord server so that we can hang out and I can ask you how you're doing. You can ask me how I'm doing. And before we get into the mailbag and other stuff, I just want to look to the chat. You guys can keep throwing stuff in. We'll read what else you guys have to. Just somebody just send me a message, a random text message saying, "Take your 118.69 back to close your reimbursement affair." What reimbursement affair? These bloody scams going around. Sorry about my ADHD. The people in
A
the
lot of
chat.
scams going around.
Yeah, trying to. Rudiger says trying to be less hard on myself. Yeah, so it seems like you and I are sort of in the same boat there, Rudiger. Uh, Crenton says mine is to stop biting my nails. What are the things you do to stop biting your nails? You dip them in lemon juice. You get that really disgusting stuff sometimes from your doctor. I know my sister. Oh, screw it. My sister had a hard time biting her nails. I don't think she's gonna watch this, and even if she does, I don't think she's gonna mind me disclosing that. Yeah. Let me know how you plan on pursuing that, Crendon. Camilla says, "Hi, Camilla. I have no New Year's resolution. Any change for me has to come naturally on its own." Well, fair enough. Just be honest with yourself. If have to take charge at some point, make sure you recognize that. King Crimson asks, "Is your back pain issue getting better, Max?" The back pain, yes, the back pain is getting better. My sciatica, it's generally the same, if not a little bit worse. However, I'm going to try and focus on that a little bit more in the new year. Emerald Queen, good to see you again. You're always a consistent viewer here. She says, "I don't do resolutions. I'm happy where I am." Well, that's fine. If you're happy where you are, more power to you. Zangara says, "Never mind." I don't know what that's in reference to. Aurora Time says, "I'm doing exactly what Camilla's doing." Alina says, "Yeah, I'm the same way, Mom." DZ Dedupe Die, or let me put another question. Does anybody know about Alan Watts? Who's Alan Watts? Do you know who Alan Watts is?
No,
John?
somebody in the chat room made twig our memories. Maybe we should know.
Yeah. Sorry about
Do
that.
we have time to do that little piece about the rock star problem?
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was I
Okay.
can't believe we almost forgot about that.
Yeah. No, we didn't.
Or I almost forgot about that. Sorry.
Okay. This short piece that I'm about to read, uh, gives me a very good example of when you judge using outside measures of outside things that are not you. Your life can never really be quite content. Okay, this is from the book The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F, The Counterintuitive Approach to Living a Good Life by Mark Manson. It's a story well known to people who do heavy metal music, I suppose, but not to me.
Mm.
In 1983, a talented young guitarist was kicked out of his band in the worst possible way. The band had just been signed to a record deal and they were about to record their first album. But a couple of days before recording began, the band showed the guitarist the door. No warning, no discussion, no dramatic blowout. They literally woke him up one day by handing a bus ticket home. As he sat on the bus back to Los Angeles from New York, the guitarist kept asking himself, how did this happen? What did I do wrong? What will I do now? Where are the cookies? No, he didn't ask that. I just threw that in there. Record contract, record
That
record
probably is
contracts.
something he was asking himself when he was on the bus ride home. He's like, just to swallow, like to deal with the depression.
I shouldn't make light of it. It's a tragic story.
Yeah.
But anyway, I couldn't resist.
It's okay. He sold
Record
50 million.
contracts
Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
didn't exactly fall out of the sky, especially for raucous upstart metal bands, had he missed his one and only shot. By the time the bus hit LA, the guitarist had gotten over his self pity and vowed to start a new band. He decided his new band would be so successful that his old band would forever regret their decision. He would become so famous they would be subjected to decades of seeing him on TV, hearing him on the radio, seeing posters of him in the streets and pictures of him in magazines. They'd be flipping burgers somewhere, loading vans from their shitty club gigs, fat and drunk with their ugly wives, and he'd be rocking out in front of stadium crowds live on television. He'd bathe in the tears of his betrayers, each tear wiped dry with a crisp, clean $100 bill. And so the guitarist worked as if possessed by a musical demon. He spent months recruiting the best musicians he could find, far better musicians than his previous bandmates. He wrote dozens of songs and practiced religiously. His seething anger fueled his ambition. Revenge became his muse. Within a couple of years, his new band had signed a record deal of their own, and a year after that, their first record would go gold. The guitarist's name was Dave Mustaine, and the new band he formed was the legendary heavy metal band Megadeth. Megadeth would go on to sell over 38 million albums and tour the world many times over. Today, Mustaine is considered one of the most brilliant and influential musicians in the history of heavy metal music. Unfortunately, the band he was kicked out of was Metallica, which has sold over 180 million albums worldwide. Metallica is considered by many to be one of the greatest rock bands of all time. And because of this, in a rare intimate interview in 2003, a tearful Mustaine admitted that he couldn't help but still consider himself a failure. Despite all he had accomplished, in his mind, he would always be the guy who got kicked out of Metallica. Now, that piece really impressed me with what can go wrong with your life when you use a silly measure like, am I better than this band or something?
Mm.
So he was a multimillionaire, very successful, but it didn't matter because down deep, he had this value of being better than this other group. So it was kind of like resolutions where you can never catch up.
Mm.
It kind of echoes that for me, but it's more a question of where do your value set come from? Why are you doing something? Are you losing weight to do this, do that, be whatever? Are you doing exercise for something? In fact, if a resolution around diet, exercise, which are very common, if they're going to work, they need to be rooted in what you actually feel is good to do at the time.
Yeah.
You can't spend a really long time in deprivation and yearning after and resentment. You can't do that. You've got to kind of get into the moment, into the now of your life, and say, okay, today, what am I going to do that really works well for me?
Mm.
What am I going to do today? Yeah, sorry.
No. Why? Sorry.
The story. I don't usually read out that much, but it sort of impressed me with what can happen to your life. It's really ironic and strange that he wasn't satisfied.
Yeah,
with his work.
It's sort of a perverse thing that happened because on the one hand, it was that drive that he got after getting kicked out of Metallica that caused him to create so much great music. It's thanks to him that he gave us one of the greatest metal songs of all time in Hangar 18. Thank you very much. But despite that fact, it was also couched in, as you were saying, that brooding and spinning and resentment. And while that might work for certain artists as brilliant as Dave Mustaine, it's, as John was just saying, it's probably not something that would work for a whole lot of people because that amount of negative emotion would likely kill people. You were just saying there for Dave Mustaine. What I also wanted to bring up was another artist that I greatly respect that sort of went through the same thing and had the same sort of wrong perspective on success. Billy Corgan, you guys have heard me talk about him on the show and in my other videos. He's the head singer and guitarist for the Smashing Pumpkins, which is my all-time favorite band. And I remember listening to the story about when he was talking about his third album. Well, unless you count Pisces Iscariot, but that's the B side. His third album, which was called Melancholy and the Infinite Sadness. I know, weird album title. When he found out that, I think the album itself got to #1 on one of the charts, probably the alternative rock charts, his agent called him up and told him about this. And when he was informed of this, apparently, this is what he said, that he said to his agent. He said, "Is there any spot higher?" Higher than #1. And it was always that perfectionist mindset that Corgan had, that he believed that by achieving as much success as he possibly could, it would allow him to overcome a lot of the emotional demons that he had growing up, with the fact that his father was a drug dealer and that his biological mother was interred and his stepmother was abusive. And he thought that by trying to pursue the heights of fame as much as he could, that would be able to divert him away from that pain. But ultimately, that's not a good way to pursue it. It's not a good motivation. You have to sort of look internally and try to pursue things in a healthy way.
Yep.
Smashing Pumpkins are really good, though, John. I should get you into them. They're not.
I don't know. Shriveled Squash, Smashing Pumpkins.
No, but here's the thing about the Smashing Pumpkins. It's like they are alternative rock, but they have a lot of songs where it's like really smooth and there's pianos and strings. It's just some of the most beautiful.
They play instruments as well, eh? That's great.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, unlike certain people that we were talking about before the show. Yeah, I might send you a couple songs. I have a feeling that you would like one or two of them. Let's see. Alan Watts is apparently a philosopher. Unfortunately, I've never heard of him. He gives Zen meditation lectures mainly. Oh, well, there you go, John. You might want to look into him. I might want to look into him. Jacob Below. Hi, Max. I'm usually at work when you do live streams, but I'm actually able to tune into this episode. Well, thank you so much for coming along, Jacob, and Happy New Year to you, too. I'm glad that you decided to take the time off that you do have to come and listen to us. It means a lot. Let's see. Oh, Reality Check says, I don't know you, but very on point commentary on Metal Gear Solid. Keep it up. Happy New Year. Well, more power to you, dog. I'm very glad that you and I can share in the same love for Metal Gear Solid. Oh, speaking of which, sorry, John, if you could just indulge me for a second.
Okay.
Yes, we're gonna have to have a segment on the show weekly where I just talk about Metal Gear. Sorry, it has to be done. For Christmas, one of my most prized possessions is that I have an original factory sealed copy of Metal Gear Solid for the PS1. And what my parents actually did for me this year was they actually put it into a frame so that I can hang it on my wall. So, yeah, if you guys thought I love Metal Gear Solid, you guys have no idea. It's a religion to me. What Star Wars is to certain people, and what the Spice Girls are to John, I'm Metal Gear Solid is to me. He's laughing because he knows it's true. Let's see, what else? How many know about Terrence McKenna? What's Terrence McKenna? You know that, John? Or who he is?
No.
Jacob Lowe says, a flower doesn't compete with the flower next to it, it just blooms. There you go. That's a good way of putting it.
Oh, I noticed the time is getting on. Did you want to get into the mailbag?
Yeah, sure. We only have one question. That's sort of why we've just been sort of having fun just doing the show, coming back. So, yeah, mailbag. Let me bring up the graphic for that. Whoops. So, as I'm sure a lot of people that are listening to right now already know, we do have a mailbag segment that we do every single week. If you guys have any questions related to differently wired topics, whether it's a topic that we're discussing today or anything else that's on your mind, we would love to hear from you so that we can read the emails that you send to us on the show. That way we can maybe offer you some advice or resources. Or if, you just wanted to send in like a personal success story or something, you just add to some great discussion. Might provide some people with motivation and hope that they might not otherwise have. So if you want to send that stuff in, it's very, very simple. Where is the... Wait a minute. It's below all these other graphics. My bad. 1 second. If you want to send in that email, all you have to do is send it to this email address that you see on screen right now, which is maxderrat@yahoo.ca. So with that out of the way, we're going to read the one mailbag question that we saved here today. And that one comes to us from Alex. How do you pronounce that, John? Is it Nguyen? Alex Nguyen?
I don't see the name.
It's spelled Nguyen.
Oh, I don't know.
Okay. I apologize.
Nguyen?
Yeah, I think it's pronounced Nguyen, but if it's not, I apologize for butchering your name, Alex. He says, my story is a bit depressing, but I think it's important for you to hear. My life started out well. I was born to an affluent family in the suburbs, but that was the end of the good times. My Asperger's showed up when I was very young, and I couldn't talk until I was 5. Even when I started to talk, I had a thick Vietnamese accent and was bullied all throughout school. I had only the teachers to show me any sympathy until middle school. All the kids would make fun of me because of my speech impediment and my Asperger's. I met my best friend and my worst enemy there. I met Matthew in my speech class and we were instant friends. We really clicked about Star Wars and Cars, the vehicle, not the movie. Okay, good, because the movie ain't that great. And also Lego. The first one's okay. He was the most vile human being who bullied anyone lower than him. He was your typical Chad who wanted to make life miserable for any Hold on. Sorry.
You missed the part about James as another person.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry, guys. Yeah, he did bring up this other guy in his class named James. I guess I unfortunately forgot to include that one sentence. I apologize, Alex.
It's a good sentence. I have it here.
Yeah, please.
I hated James within every quantum string of my being.
Nice.
He was the most vile. It's a very good sentence.
It kind of echoes Harlan Ellison's what's the name of the AI from I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream? He says, if I could write the word hate on every nanoangstrom of my 784-mile long circuits, it wouldn't be enough. It wouldn't be enough to describe the hate I feel for you this moment. Yeah, so
that's a lot of hate.
That's a lot of hate, yeah. Don't read I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream if you're feeling pretty depressed. It's pretty bleak. But sorry, back to your email, Alex. He was the most vile human being who bullied anyone lower than him. He was your typical Chad who wanted to make life miserable for any neuroatypical. One time he poured water on my friend and he had a meltdown as he just laughed. He exploited the system and never got in trouble because he never laid a hand on me, but psychologically tortured me and the other Aspies. Dude, I feel you, man. He also did this to a kid with OCD and he darn near had a heart attack. Towards the end of middle school, I discovered furries. They became my new obsession along with Sonic. I also discovered that I was gay and I was afraid to tell my parents who are ultra-conservative Christians. In high school, I was bullied constantly by James and his friends. I not only hated James, but envied him. He could have any woman he wanted, but he chose to torment people to make himself feel like a god. I've always had an Asperger's diagnosis, so my parents had always expected good things out of me, thinking I'd be like Rain Man. I was always a disappointment to them. I was terrible at academics, and the only thing I was good at was art. I drew a bunch of Sonic OCs, including one called Sexy the Red. I don't know what OC, I'm guessing that means original character. James bullied me for it. It got to the point where I threw a chair at him, and just like usual, he doesn't get in trouble because of it. Yeah. I thankfully found a boyfriend on a furry Discord server, and even though I've never met him before, I am happy now. I don't want to reveal any Instagram, but I'm doing okay on it. I'm very thankful, Max, for your videos about Asperger's, as they gave me a light in the tunnel. I hope the best for you, and thank you. Thank you, Max. Well, thank you, Alex.
Wow, that's wonderful. That is wonderful.
Yeah.
This guy went through, and many people listening will know that he went through a lot of traumatic stuff, and even helping a little bit is great. But his life seems to be coming around. What a lot of courage and energy he's shown.
Yeah,
Great stuff.
I'm glad that you've been able to find somebody that can appreciate you for who you are, dude. The Discord, believe it or not, it is a great place to meet people. It's a great place to find specific groups for people that like specific things. and they're private too, so you're not always out in the open, so that trolls can come in and mess with you. That's a great thing about my Discord server. I mean, there is from time to time, but over the year of doing Discord, there's been very, very few incidents, and I'm not lying either. So I'm really glad about that. Another thing I wanted to sort of remark on, maybe somebody in the chat can explain this to me, but I've always seen an overlap between the autism community and Sonic the Hedgehog, and I don't know why that is. It's sort of the same thing with like autism and Minecraft. I don't understand why that is. Maybe somebody can explain it to me. John, do you know who Sonic the Hedgehog is, right?
Not even vaguely.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Do you know who you know the plumber Mario?
Plumber Mario.
Yeah, like Super Mario Brothers.
Oh, the Oh, that little, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So you know him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, not intimately, you know.
Yeah. 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 He's kind of a hard guy to get a hold of. He's super duper popular. Luigi, I hear, is he's just waiting for people to offer him work. But Mario, yeah, the reason why I bring up Mario is that Sonic, in terms of video game mascots, he's very, very popular. And his sort of trademark, kind of like how Mario is his ability to jump real high, Sonic's ability is to go real fast. So that's why his name is Sonic, because Sonic Boom. Haha. Yeah, maybe somebody can explain it to me in the chat. Rudiger says primary colors. Yeah, there's a lot of primary colors in Sonic, because you got Knuckles, who's the red guy, and Tails, who's the yellow guy. Oh yeah, Sonic being sort of like a cool character, like a '90s skateboard type of character. Jacob Below says, I don't know. I know that autism does have a lot to do with extreme passions, but I don't know why Sonic or Minecraft specifically. Aaron Kramer says maybe psychologically they could relate to Sonic. Yeah, that sort of goes back to what Rudiger was saying. No, wait, sorry. Yeah, Rudiger. Hey, Horace. Jackass 315 says perhaps it is because we too like to go fast. Yeah,
that has a bit of a ring to it. I like that insight. Differently wired brains do move quickly.
Yeah, that might be a good reason why.
And it takes, and it's very easy to get distracted. Like, you notice it's a big problem if somebody asks you to read something slowly. Your mind wanders and goes everywhere, and you just can't focus on it. You need to actually develop ways to read rapidly. In some cases, not everyone, but in some cases, reading fast, very, very fast, can enhance comprehension.
Oh yeah, that reminds me, John. I actually just put out a video on Monday called "The Truth About ADHD," and in that video, I actually take that piece of advice that you gave me about how sometimes, in order to focus, you got to read fast. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I got to show that to you. I got some good response on it. Let's see. Relating by running at the speed of sound. Okay. Horace Lux says John speaks wisdom. Yes, he does. All right. Yeah, we're pretty much at the end of the show right now. It's 7:49. John's
actually, I got to head off in 60 seconds.
Okay. Well, just before you go, just one other thing. Hellbound Iscariot says, Max Derrat, do you get annoyed about being lectured? Is there anybody that likes being lectured? I mean, unless it's like in a classroom setting, who does? No. Anyways, yeah, so thank you so much for joining us, guys. We really appreciate you taking time out of your holidays, because it is still technically the holidays, to come and listen to the show. As always, the show will be up as soon as we're done, the pre-recorded version, and later the audio version will be available to those who are subscribed on Subscribestar. If you want to get the audio version, like I said, all it costs is $1 a month. It's damn near free, and once you contribute that, it really helps John and I to continue expanding and achieving our ultimate goal of world domination. John, thank you so much. I look forward to a whole other year of doing this with you. It's been a pleasure.
Great start to 2020. Thank you, Max. We'll see you next week.
All right. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. And to you guys, I just want to remind you before we close out that there is... Here, I'll bring up the graphic for it. There is an after show for the Differently Wired show. So if you are in the Discord server and would like to hang out and are subscribed at $2 a month on Subscribestar, you can come and hang out with me for an hour after the show, just to hang out. If you have anything that you'd like to talk about to me in regards to my videos or anything else that might be going on with you in regards to Differently Wired subjects, just come and hang out. It's always a lot of fun when I get to talk to you guys. So with that out of the way, I just want to say thank you again. I look forward to doing this with you again at the same time next week. And until that time, I just want to remind you, as always, stay yellow.